Welcome back, everybody. It is the second episode of our monthly comic book news. This is for the month of July. What Mike and I are going to do over the next 20 minutes or so, we have the four big topics in the world of comic books, nerd news, and everything else that we're going to discuss. Just give our thoughts on it down below. Be interested to get your guys' thoughts on it as we go through as well. So, the first topic we're going to talk about, Mike, probably the most anticipated month of superhero movies really in maybe 4 or 5 years, in that we have two huge movies coming out this month. The start of the DC universe with Superman on July 11th, and then we have the MCU's long awaited debut of the Fantastic Four on July 25th. Uh, Two huge movies. Very different projections on both of these. Superman continues to seem to have an upward tick of interest and projections of more money. Fantastic Four seems to be getting a little bit more lukewarm reception and things like that. I think we'll kind of just go through both of these films to start. We're 2 weeks away from Superman, literally from today of when this debuts. It's the start of a new DC universe. What are you looking forward to with Superman, and do you think it will be successful?
Um, yeah, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago they started selling movie tickets,
Hmm.
uh, and they sold more movie tickets, whatever, early than any other movie or something to that effect.
Yep.
People are excited to see it. In fact, that reminds me, you and I should get our movie tickets probably soon because
Yeah.
I bet that first weekend is sold out. So it is going to be a huge success. It's going to be amazing. People are going to have fun watching a superhero movie again. And I think, it's going to take DC out of that shadow of darkness that overlaid it for 15
Yeah,
years,
no, the Snyderverse. Yeah.
20 years. And it's going to bring us back into a more fun, action packed summer action movie, aspirational. But yeah, I think it's going to be great. I really, really think it's going to be great for DC and for book fans, Marvel fans too. Go and see it. It's going to be fun.
It's interesting, like you said, this might be the perfect offshoot for some of those Marvel fans who have been dissatisfied. And I think, while I don't think the trailers look perfect, and there are some things I'm scratching my head about a bit, it looks bright, it looks hopeful, it looks fun, it looks the complete opposite of Snyder's take on it. And I'm in the rare corner of liking Man of Steel, but I hate everything that came after that, from Superman and the Justice League, and there was very few bright spots in the DCEU. I think the Aquaman movies were okay. I enjoyed the Shazam corner of things. Wonder Woman's first movie was okay. But overall, it was a dark, morose, overly serious, joyless affair that I think misunderstood the characters quite a bit. James Gunn, what I'll give him credit, I had no attachment to the Guardians of the Galaxy, even as a huge comic book fan. He somehow found a way to make three really solid, really entertaining, and fun movies that connected with audiences and made a tree and a raccoon household names in the comic book universe.
It was
He's
crazy, right?
probably the biggest superhero that exists. He's not the most popular anymore, but the most recognizable brand. If he can bring that same life and that same energy that he did to Guardians of the Galaxy, I do think it'll be a huge success. The only reservations I have is, will he James Gunnify it too much? And what I mean by that is, if you go back and watch Guardians of the Galaxy, he leans into the weird characters a little more. And so the only things that I think could derail this, Metamorpho, and it looks like there's like Metamorpho's kid and little baby kaiju and stuff like that. If he tries to get a little too creative, that could hurt it. But again, maybe that will connect with a different audience. I think Superman, my expectations are very high. I do think I'll like it. And I trust James Gunn, and that if you'd ever told me I would own a trilogy of Guardians of the Galaxy movies that I regularly watch and enjoy, I would have told you you're insane. I'm going to trust that the guy who did that can do well with Superman, and the trailers have so far justified that it will look okay.
I think
Fantastic
so.
Four. Go ahead, Mike.
I think so too. I think he'll pull it off.
We pivot to Fantastic Four. Um, I'll be honest, I feel the completely opposite. I'll go to you on this first, but I feel the completely opposite of Superman with Fantastic Four. And the more I see, the less excited I am for it. Where are you at on that as it gets closer to coming out?
Okay, Fantastic Four. We'll have to get Lauren on again to talk some more about it. But I I feel like, with the DC universe, we know it's all brand new and it's going to be starting fresh.
Hmm.
With the Marvel, I really don't know what to expect. Um, and I'm not someone who's steeped in all the teasers and the trailers.
Yep.
I like the fact that it's going to take place in the 60s ish, I guess.
Yeah, like a period piece kind of thing.
So I like that fact. I love that angle. And I'm cautiously optimistic for it. But at the same time, I've got this reservation that I don't know, that I don't have with Superman, that I don't know if it's going to be, if it's going to come out wonky, like some of the more recent Marvel films, where it's like, I don't know.
My biggest reservation comes from the fact that you have the Silver Surfer in it, and it's not Nora and Rad, and that kind of tells me what I need to know about the creatives on this movie. And that,
Yeah, that
look,
decision right there.
I don't have any problem with it. What people always do is they take things like that and they reduce it to the worst possible conclusion. I don't care that there's a girl character in the movie. I don't care that they're going to have, if you make Sue Storm the focus of it, that's fine with me. What I do care is that you looked at the Fantastic Four, you looked at the Galactus saga, and you went, Nora and Rad, don't need them. To me, that tells me you don't really value the continuity that much. And I know there's a girl Silver Surfer from one comic 20 years ago that nobody remembers who I think died in like 2 pages. To go through the classic Kirby Galactus trilogy of issues and go, Norrin Rad, don't need them, kind of tells me where they're at as far as what these people think of the Fantastic Four. I think the other portion of this, the 60s period piece is cool. The fact that it's set in a different universe is cool. But I also know because we're so obsessed with the stupid multiverse things that that's not going to last. And so let's say they knock it out of the park and this is a great 60s period piece Fantastic Four movie that I love. I know the next time they show up, they're not going to be there. The other part that I have a problem with is this feels like rushed stuff at the end. It kind of feels like when you're a kid and you procrastinate on a project, and then you're like, oh crap, I got to put it together, and there's spelling errors and all kinds of mistakes. They have Doctor Doom coming up next year as the biggest multiverse threat that there is, and Reed Richards is not going to have interacted with him at all before there's a Doctor Doom movie where he's the main threat. There's no build-up, no rivalry, no. It just they don't seem to, in my opinion, appreciate what the Fantastic Four are, appreciate the significance of the characters, and what should be a grand saga seems like a forced, rushed, oh man, we're not hitting, maybe we'll throw this property out there. And sadly, that's all too reminiscent of like what Fox did. Was like, oh man, we need a superhero movie, throw this out. Again, I'll go see it. I think some of the trailers look okay. The character designs look okay. But even though like I loved Thunderbolts, I thought that was a good movie. My kid is a huge Red Hulk fan and absolutely loves Red Hulk. I didn't really mind the Captain America movie. I thought it was decently entertaining and probably I enjoyed it more because my kid was so obsessed with the Red Hulk. But overall, like I'm not hugely negative on where Marvel is right now, and I still cannot get my excitement for Fantastic Four anywhere near Superman when it should be a movie. I'm like overjoyed by. I don't know. Do you think it will work, Mike? What do you think this will be? Do you think it's going to be another MCU disappointment, or do you think this one has a chance to break through?
I am really on the fence with it. And I think, like you were saying, we've got Doctor Doom coming up next year.
Yeah, end of year next year.
And one of the chief complaints, I was just watching a video about this earlier, is this second or third or fourth wave of whatever MCU we're calling it now.
Phase 12 or whatever.
Yeah, phase 12. Like the characters are all kind of siloed off and scattered, where what the successful formula was is the MCU was built piece by piece, block by block, character by character over a period of time so that these characters got to interact and
Everything had stakes because of that. Yeah.
everything had stakes. And then this big villain that they threw in, Thanos, was teased out through, for several years. And to throw Doctor Doom in like that, and then not even using the team that you're going to present at the end of the month, it's going to be a different universe, a different team. I don't know.
Yeah, it just feels to me, I think we're gonna deal with another MCU bomb. I'm sure it'll have a great opening weekend. I think it'll fall over time. And then the more we're hearing that Sue Storm's going to be the leader and Sue Storm's going to be the chief character, it just seems like more. Am I going to be shocked if I go to this movie and Reed Richards gets benched and Ben Grimm's barely in it, and at the end it's the girl Silver Surfer and the girl leader of the Fantastic Four teaming up to win? Not going to be shocked, even if that has no. And again, I've got no problem with great central female characters, but you've got to do the Fantastic Four as the Fantastic Four, and as the second they threw away Nora and Rad, my interest went from, feeling good about it to bad. But I don't know. Let us know. What are your guys' thoughts down below? What are your anticipations for these two movies? What do you feel about Superman? What do you feel about Fantastic Four? Are you looking forward to? Are you not? Let us know, folks. We always appreciate your thoughts. We'll pivot to the second story. Maybe not comic book related, but huge for me and you as fans of the character, more so me. He's my second favorite character. And he has had a comic book for the last decade at Dynamite. So delve
Dynamite.
into it. James Bond. James Bond 26. We are finally getting some movement on this. Denis Villeneuve, the great director of both Dune movies that you and I hold as masterpieces of filmmaking, he has been announced as the new director of James Bond. Different era for Bond. The Eon Productions that own James Bond, the entirety of his cinematic history, that is gone. They were bought out. So this is all Amazon, which is a little worrisome. But apparently, what we wanted to talk a little bit about, we got Denis Villeneuve. They are rumored to be looking at Tom Holland as the new James Bond, which I will say takes me to a weird place on this movie. Before I go on this, because I'll probably talk way too much about it, what your thoughts on it? You get Denis Villeneuve, maybe Tom Holland. Like, where are you at on the new James Bond and what they're doing?
I don't see Tom Holland as James Bond. And the thing about Bond and the thing about Tom Holland is, for better or for worse, he will forever be Spidey, right?
Fighting.
And and to take an iconic character like Bond and to try and shoehorn an iconic actor like Holland, who is really known for that role,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a hard sell. I like that they're trying to pick a younger actor, but I just don't think it's a good fit. I really don't. I'm sorry,
No,
Tom. I
no, and
love
there's a
Tom.
couple other folks apparently they're looking at, but
Okay.
like you said, the emphasis is they want a younger Bond.
Yeah,
It's weird. I'm in a completely different place on the cast of Bond and the director. Denis Villeneuve, what he did with Dune, and they filmed practically for most of it, only using minimal CGI on the stuff that you absolutely needed it for. The way the movie looks, the landscape shots it's going to be a beautiful looking movie, and that's important for a Bond film.
yeah.
The casting of a younger Bond bugs me because James Bond is and I know they want to do like, hey, we could get a Bond actor for 20 years or whatever. Tom Holland, look, I like Tom Holland. I think he's a great Spider-Man. Him as James, I just don't see it. He doesn't look old enough. Is
I
my
know
opinion
it.
on it. And James Bond to me is a character that doesn't work younger. I think you need James Bond to be a man. He needs to be, and I know Tom Holland's like almost 30, but let's be honest, they had him playing a high schooler a couple years ago, and he still looked age appropriate for it.
Yeah.
Him right now, Tom Holland, a movie where he's shaken, not stirred. I'd be like, I think they're gonna card James Bond here and see if he's
So
21. I just don't think you can make that work with
get
him
get
being
a,
so young.
get a little nerdy with me about Bond. So Ian Fleming wrote him um, kind of from his own life experience,
Yep.
and
Of
some
people
of the
he
people,
knew as well. Yeah.
yeah, during World War II. And
Hmm.
so this is a post World War II character. Not saying that the movie has to be a period piece, but you could envision a modern Bond like having, fought in Afghanistan or whatever and did
Yeah.
special ops.
Oh, they're gonna have to
So
fix the timeline and all that. Yeah.
this guy would be like, in his 30s, early 30s maybe.
Well, and that's a huge key with Bond is Bond is supposed to have been a naval commander before he was a double O agent, which would mean he'd be older. Again, is this going to be young Bond? I don't know. I mean, I don't need another revisitation of James Bond Jr. like that awful cartoon they did. Like, you just again, I not that Tom Holland's not a good actor. I think he's likable. If I had to be positive on it, he does have some charisma. He is likable. He has carried blockbuster movies before. And he does seem to have talked about James Bond as loving that character and wanting to do well, which I think is an improvement because as much as I think Daniel Craig was an okay James Bond, Daniel Craig hated James Bond. He's publicly saying he didn't like the character very much. He tried to bring the humanity of it. He enjoyed playing it at times, but he also did stuff where he's like, I'd rather slit my wrist than play James Bond again. Like, Daniel Craig just wasn't fun. And so if Tom Holland could bring some fun to it, I guess that could work. Honestly, the big part that makes me mad is like I don't know why do people not like Henry Cavill? I mean, the guy just looks like James Bond. I don't get it. It's a weird place to be in that I think the director's absolutely
Is
perfect for
Cavill in
Bond.
the running?
No, apparently because they want to go younger and Cavill's like 40. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. I don't know how many of our comic fans are Bond fans, but let us know your thoughts down below on the upcoming James Bond. I'll also say a little worried about Amazon grabbing it. Amazon has
That is kind of scary that Eon's because Eon Productions has been a good steward,
if it's
as
the
good as it can get.
Amazon people who did Jack Reacher so well, then we're in for something
Yes,
good. If it's
yes.
the Amazon people who did Lord of the Rings so bad, then
Uh,
that's the thing with Amazon is their 50-50 hit rate. But be interested to see if anybody would watch. Bond might be a little bit outside of the comic book realm for some, but would be interested on your thoughts on that below with the director and that. All right, so we'll go to our third story here. Comic-Con this month, San Diego Comic-Con, July. One of the biggest events on the comic book calendar. Although this year, not a whole lot from the stuff that most people pay attention to nowadays. No MCU presentation that we know of. Doesn't seem like DC is going to have a real big presence there. And so the focus will actually be back on the comic books. Mike, I know you're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with you in Comic Con this year, but do you like the fact that SDCC might actually be more focused on comics again, as opposed to the multimedia presentation points?
I'm really excited about that. And I like the fact that they're highlighting the creators, the artists, the writers. So I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, I got picked to help the comic book historians do a panel this year
Yep.
at Comic Con. So I'm very excited about my panel and
You're getting to
Bill
talk
and
Flash at Comic Con, my
I get to
friend.
talk
That is
about the Flash at
fantastic.
Comic Con with my friends Bill and Alex, the comic book historian. So I'm very excited about that. But I am kind of um, excited to see a Comic Con that's not all based on other media besides
The
comics.
MCU and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I know Frank Miller's going to be there, Jim Lee's going to be there. There's going to be a lot of people there that are creators, and I'm excited. I'm excited for that. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. You never know with Comic Con. There could be a surprise. The Fantastic Four show up in costume, and something like
Then
that
take
could
over
happen.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, you still know what's going to happen. But as of right now, it looks like it's going to be very creator focused. So
No, congrats to you on getting to do a panel. I know that's been a dream for you for a while, so that's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes for you and everything. Really hoping that is excellent. I think I hope there's no MCU surprise. I hope there's no huge DC surprise. I love that it's back on the comic books. Look, you and I, we led this thing talking about movies, and we love the comic book movies and all the multimedia aspects of it. But comic books have become such an afterthought, and I like that there might be a huge San Diego Comic-Con event that still seems to have some juice behind it and energy that might just be focused on the comic books again. And then I think one of the worst things as comic book fans, you and I appreciate the multimedia aspect, but those little floppy comic books are what we actually care about more than anything else. And
Yes,
so
that's true.
I love that that's getting the attention. I hope it makes these companies bring their A game. I hope there's some huge announcements as far as books and talent on the books and things like that. I am hoping that it truly will be a Comic Con that has a spotlight on the comics because that might mean the comic companies will grab that attention and jolt some life into the comic book industry that really, really needs it. I think it's great. And again, one of the things is Hollywood is good at a lot of things, but one thing that they're not real good at is they're not good at long-term thinking for the industries. And so I think they maybe, we'll see if Superman revives the box office for it. Hollywood might be soaking the last few drops out of that towel of creative thinking from the comic book realm and
Right.
leaving it dry and broken. And so, as comic book fans, Hollywood's not really cared what they've done to the industry that much. And so I do think it's time to start focusing on the books again and get these things that used to just be about the creators and the artists and, hey, this book's coming out and this book's coming out and all that. So I'm all for seeing a return to it as much as, you and I have talked about this. It's shocking, but the prevalence of movies being these billion-dollar things for 20 years now hasn't really helped comic books. If anything, I think we've had a net negative. And so I'm all for Comic Con being more about the comics. I'd be completely happy with, hey, comic book movies going back to, hey, we get one or two a year, one,
Yeah.
maybe some years. So I think it's a
Yeah.
good thing. I think it's good. Looking forward to your panel on the Flash, my friend. Congrats on that. Let us
Thank
know.
you.
What do you guys think down below? What do you think about San Diego Comic Con being a little more focused on the comics this year? Is that something you're looking forward to, excited about, or do you think it's a bad thing overall for the industry? Let us know what you think on that. We will close it with our fourth topic here today. Recently announced, but Mike, I know this is a controversial creator for you and me. Tom King announced that he will be on yet another Batman project. He ran the Batman comic for about 85 issues. He did a 6-issue series after that. I think it was Batman Killing Time around the time the Batman came out. And then he always has Batman guest star in these series. Um, it's interesting. Tom King's probably the creator that I have had the most U-turn on in that when he wrote his Vision series, his Mr. Miracle series, and the first 40 something issues of Batman, I was probably as close to a fanboy of a writer as there was for Tom King. And then Batman 50 happened with the wedding fake out. And that was kind of one of those moments where it permanently scars things, and he never recovered from that. And to be honest, to me, he hasn't. What are your thoughts on Tom King getting another crack on Batman? How do you feel about him as a writer overall? Where are you at on this whole thing?
I dropped Batman from my pull list. Um, I think it was 2018,
Yeah, the
when
wedding fake out, I think, yeah, 2018-ish was that was.
2017, 2018. After the wedding thing,
Mhm.
and I haven't put him back on my pull list since then. And then he did that weird mini series,
Heroes in Crisis with
Heroes in
Wally West.
Crisis. I was all excited for it. I signed up for it. I thought it was going to be great. It was a neat concept the way it was teased, but
Hmm.
I didn't enjoy the way that was
Now
done.
it's hard to enjoy
I
a
don't
story where you
know. I
make
don't know.
Wally
I've
West
heard that
a murderer. Yeah.
I have heard that really wasn't his idea. That editorially they said that you have to create this story or whatever. So I'm not the biggest Tom King fan anymore, but I do have friends that hold him in very high regard. And I will say the first part of that Batman run that he did was very good.
Hmm.
Um, Putting him back on Batman, I don't know, I'm 50-50. Like, could he put it back into gear with the old Tom King and hit it out of the park again? I'm sure he could. Will it be that way, or will the editors get in the way? I don't know.
Yeah, my thing is, look, I hold the first 30, 40 issues of his Batman in high regard still, even though it fell off the rails.
Yeah.
Um, his Mr. Miracle series was fantastic. His Vision comic book, one of my favorite comic books that's been written the last 20 years. But he fell off. He fell off with Batman. And to me, this is kind of we always got to work a sports analogy in. This is like a team that had a quarterback who was good and then had three bad seasons, made the team lose every game, and they released the quarterback. And now 3 years later, like, hey, we're signing that quarterback again. It's like, no, we don't need that. And I know that Tom King has a love for Batman as a writer, at least he says he does, but he's just a weird writer, and I think even the ones that worked for him, he's obsessed with doing these psychological think piece kind of comic books. And it's something that I think you and I have grown to hate in the medium, and that he's kind of, in my opinion, now he's a wannabe Alan Moore. And the thing is, Alan Moore was at least smart enough most of the time to grab concepts that really weren't. He didn't write the main Superman title for a long time. He didn't write the main Bat. He wrote Swamp Thing, and he wrote, Watchmen, and he wrote League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and V for Vendetta. He kind of went to where his thing was, and yes, he dabbled with the Killing Joke and stuff like that. Tom King seems to want to write the main continuity superheroes, but do it with the deconstruction of Alan Moore. And while that's really interesting when you have an android examining his humanity like the Vision comic book did, which is great, doesn't work so well for Batman. And it doesn't work so well for what he did to Adam Strange, where he turned him into like a war criminal terrorist who gets murdered by his wife. What he did to Mr. Terrific, where he revealed that Mr. Terrific was like almost relieved that his wife and unborn child died because he wasn't looking forward to having it's there's weird he did the what was it, the Human Target, where he kind of embarrassed Martian Manhunter and had he was like impotent and stuff. It was just he tries to do these psychological examinations, and they can be interesting if you have Vision or a Daredevil character like Mr. Miracle, as far as like what makes this guy want to escape death all the time, or how does this robot experience humanity. And his early Batman run was interesting because Bruce Wayne is a really interesting psychological character that you can delve into. What doesn't work is when you build all that up and then you do a rug pull at the end and go, oh, never mind. All that development was fake. And so I have no excitement for it. Well, I pick it up probably because it's going to have Batman on the cover, and I'll see it and I'll go, no, I don't want to. But eventually I'm going to see a Batman #1 and be dang hard not to grab it. But it's Tom King to me. I think it's just run its course, and sadly, he seems to be really integrated with the DC universe too. Again, I'll never trash him all the way because, despite not liking a lot, I still think that
He's done
Vision
some
comic
great.
book is,
He's done some great stuff, and
yeah,
and like you said, I think those kind of deep dive psychological things are a once in a while kind of thing. If you're doing that with every character all the time, but on occasion, you could do a psychoanalyst type series for Bruce Wayne. It works well, right?
yeah,
It's an interesting character. But yeah, deconstruction, I hope, is over.
yeah,
It's been around for a long time. The Dark Universe did not translate the deconstruction ist kind of thing, did not translate to the movie screen.
mm-mm,
And that's why the DCEU did not do very well. And so I think that was the salvo across the bow that made some people understand that we got to go a different way.
yeah. No, I think we're in a place now with comic books and superheroes where it does seem to be people are wanting a little more light and a little more fun. And I think, that's what Ultimate Spider-Man's done. I think Absolute Batman, despite being a little dark as a comic book, is more bombastic action and stuff like that. I think we are at a pivot point with comic books, right? And so maybe Tom King can, like we've seen athletes do, find a second win. Maybe he's like, you know what? I've done all those type of stories. Maybe this will be his, hey man, I'm going to return to Batman and do a fun action event. Maybe he will. And I'll be honest, I'm not rooting against him. I want it to succeed. Look, like you said, as much as I don't like what he's done recently, that Vision comic book, the Mr. Miracle, the first 30 issues of Batman or so, they're great. They're some of the best comics I've ever read. If he can bring that back, maybe like we've seen with so many athletes, where they're great for a couple of years and then they fall and then they get traded to the right team and they turn their career around, maybe he'll do that. I don't have a ton of excitement for it, but we will see how it works out. However, let us know what you guys think. Are you looking forward to Tom King running back on Batman? Do you have any optimism there? If you're still a Tom King fan who likes what he's doing, I know he's got his fans out there. Let us know what works you think are really good or where we may be missing something that might be wrong. As for that, folks, that'll be our last topic for this, our July comic book news. Hope you guys enjoyed. We look forward to your thoughts down below. Have a great month, folks. God bless you. We'll catch you in our next video.
Thanks, everybody.